Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to CFL Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans, and we have our review here of Week 14, which had some good games of some good football. And I think pretty much most people were happy this week, for the most part. I was happy. You were happy. Stamps fans weren't. Alouettes fans weren't, but they were expecting to be sad. So overall, not a bad week of football as far as I'm concerned. So we're going to start with this first game here, which is the Hamilton Tiger Cats versus the Ottawa Red Blacks. How was this game, Rick?
I will say our team decided to pull out one of your bomber playbooks this week
Oh, yeah?
and only play half a game instead of a full game.
Oh, I thought it was run on first down, throw on second. That is the Buck Pierce special.
Well, considering that it was 6-3 at half, it was like one of those snooze fests.
Oh, yeah.
And then Ottawa completely won the third quarter with scoring 14-7. And then it was one of those games where it was like, you score, we score, you score, we score, and then like down to like
It was just
I
that
want to
back
say
and
like the
forth.
last. It's like Crum would go, and then Powell's like, "Okay, I'll show you up. I'll throw a touchdown." Crum's like,
So
"Okay, well, I'll do you one."
this was like the football version of ping pong.
Yes.
This is the Nick Arbuckle special, ping pong football.
The only difference is Powell had 326 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
Crum had 265 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception.
So 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. Saw that Hardy went in, and it's funny because on my app here it's listed as Jay Hardy, which is like so tempting for me as a wrestling fan to think Jeff Hardy. I'm like, oh my god, Jeff Hardy was at quarterback. He's like announcing the play, like not quite, but yeah, Dustin Crum would go 17 for 26, so he'd be over 10 yards average, but I mean he didn't throw any touchdowns, so it's just kind of.
Part of me thinks that Ben Major, the referee, I don't know if you know referees, but
No,
Ben
I don't.
Major is like the up and coming Andre Pruitt, because like there was one point in the game where we got like offensive pass interference. We got 1 and 20, 1st and 20. So then we got it up to like 2nd and 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got another penalty. So now it's 2nd and 20 or 1st and 20 again.
It was like 2nd and 16.
But it's like every time they threw something like that at us, we still got it done.
Well,
I mean, Tim White has finally appeared once again where he has 180 yards for 2 touchdowns. Where the heck was he?
What a game!
Season?
Almost 200 receiving yards. So that's a huge game for Tim White.
Well, technically, if you add his rushing yards, he is 2 yards short of 200 all-purpose yards because he had 18 rushing yards too.
All-purpose yards or net yards? I don't know. Is it called net yards or all-purpose yards? I've heard both terms.
He's trying to catch up to your Dembski.
Yeah, just try to catch up to Brady Oliveira. I dare you.
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. Butler's only 500 yards away from catching up to Oliveira this year.
Yeah, he's only off by 500 yards. Only 500 yards.
And then my guy, good old Cachatonis, got himself not only 1 interception, but a fumble recovery in our end zone as well.
Go. So overall, if you are a fan of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, this is the game you wanted. As I mean, like you mentioned, you said the week after Labor Day for Ticats is the beginning, is the start. So that's where,
What? One last thing that I will say is I feel bad for Red Black fans because Devontae Williams had one hell of a game and they lost. This guy had 146 rushing yards and 69 receiving yards, and they still lost.
Well,
it was like Tim White versus Devontae Williams.
It's not a one-man effort, and that is the way it is. And so it's unfortunate, though. He had a good effort. He couldn't save the game. But we're going to go on to the next game, where on one side had all the good efforts, and on the other side, fucking no one showed up. Oh, my God.
Oh.
So we are going to get into, it's that time of year. Play your banjos. It's the Banjo Bowl, baby. The rematch after Labor Day. And the Bombers, we took that shit personally as, oh my God, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers destroy everything the Saskatchewan Roughriders know and love to win 51-6 with over 40 points in the first half of this game, giving up nothing in the second half. And so where do I even start? So this all goes back to Robertson headbutting Caleros. Caleros doing that post-game media where he was pissed off, where he's like, yeah, you think the league will look at it? I don't know. You've been in the league long enough, you know? What do you think, huh? And it's like, you're like, oh, this is a mad Zach Caleros. Oh, we saw mad Zach Caleros. Mad Zach Caleros throws 5 touchdowns in half a fucking game. Half a game. Zach Caleros throws 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, goes 18 for 21 for 319 yards, over 15.2 on average. That's crazy. Brady Oliveira runs 154 yards, receives 57, over 200 all-purpose yards for Brady Oliveira, over 100 yards for Dalton Schoen, over 100 yards for Kenny Lawler. Holy crap. The Bombers just kicked the absolute living fuck out of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. It was not close. And it's funny because if you want to know a real metaphor for this game, a real metaphor for this game is in the scoring summary. Because if we look here, I think the third quarter, the score doesn't have it listed, but in the third quarter, Brett Lothar goes for the field goal, okay? He's about 41 yards out. So he had already made one for 39 and one from 26 earlier that night. Brett Lothar has been a pretty good kicker for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. 40 yards for him is relatively average. He hits most of those, at least 75%. He misses this wide. And at that point, it's like they're losing by like 40 points and they're missing the field goal from 40 yards. That is a metaphor of this game. For that, just absolutely nothing is going Saskatchewan's way. And it was one of those things where they couldn't get the running game going. They couldn't get the passing game going. 15 for 21, not great. Shea Patterson would go in the fourth quarter against Drew Brown. And Shea Patterson would do it actually quite well. He'd go 3 for 3. Brown would actually only go 1 for 3. But it didn't matter because he had all these guys around him really, really pushing and going for it. Sergio Castillo wouldn't see the field much. He would only see it for converts as well as 3 field goals. He hit absolute everything. His longest was 40 yards. Sheehan had his first punt of the game with 1.5 minutes left on the clock. The Bombers punted once this entire game. And that punt, we did literally the Bombers were this close to going an entire game without punting because every time they went down, they scored. Yes.
So I have a question. So all of the second half, I mean, besides, I'm sure they had more than 3 plays in the whole second half. No.
So I'm trying to think here. So first off, a lot of it was killing the clock. A lot of it was just run plays, getting a few yards, and just killing the absolute shit out of this clock. Second half was a little bit of a boring bit. As essentially, the Bombers, they got a field goal in the third. Fourth comes around, 2 more field goals. Really, the Bombers killed the clock a lot. And it was just one of those things where, because they actually, when Sheehan comes to the field, IG Field announcer, I can't remember his name, makes a point of mentioning that this is the first time that Sheehan is seeing the field because he hasn't been punting all game. And it was one of those things where it's like, when Mario Alford is your returner, you know it's bad when you're electing to take it on the 40. Like, think about it. When Mario Alford, when Super Mario is your kick returner, one of the best and most consistent guys on the team, and you're electing to take it on the 40 because you don't even think you can get 40 yards off the kickoff return, that's not good. That's not a good night. And so it's one of those things where I wanted the Bombers to kill Saskatchewan. And so I may have drove the 6 hours to watch my team lose, but I didn't drive 6 hours for my team to not even show up. So at the end of the day, if you're a Bomber fan, we just stomped the Riders' teeth in. There's nothing more you can ask for. This is like, I love playing the Riders. I hate losing to the Riders, but boy, does this feel good. This. Also,
I guess
we need Mad Zach Caleros more often. Holy shit! Like, this is Mad Zach Caleros. Oh, we need some more of that, and like just 154 rushing yards. Brady Over, absolutely bonkers.
I guess this 113-yard Jake Dolegala's real Jake Dolegala, not the one that we were previously saying that he's been eating his Wheaties and that, and
outstanding game. You know what, the thing about Jake Dolegala is he is a promising quarterback. There's no doubt about that. I think he'll have that spot now above Mason Fine. I think he's proven that. But the end of the fact of the matter is that no one showed up. We can't just put this all on one guy. No one showed up for Saskatchewan. It is what it is. But we have talked about this game for long enough. I have talked about this game for long enough. As much as I would love to continue rubbing it in, we have to go over to the Alouettes Argonauts game.
One thing that I will say for those Bomber fans, if you want an in-depth 20-minute video on just that game, head over to Nolan Podcast where Carter does a full
Nolan Podcast. Definitely not called the Nolan Hockey Podcast, which has football videos. Nolan Podcast. Yes, Nolan Hockey Podcast. Check that out. Banjo Bowl was a great time. Met Chris Strevler. Great dude. Signed my chain. Anyways, next game, Montreal Alouettes versus the Toronto Argonauts. Toronto wins and is now 10-1. And so it's one of those things where I am now more excited for when the Bombers play the Argonauts. Because I'm not going to lie, I have a bit of my chip on the shoulder but the Argonauts. However, the Alouettes, they not able to get much going. Ellingson is out again for this game. But
one thing that I will mention to anyone that did not watch
you were at this game, right?
I was at this game. Yep. If you decide to go over to a player's bench and start swinging at players, you're going to be ejected, and that's what happened to Austin Mack, and that's why Montreal had no.
Well, I mean, Austin Mack was the offense. Yeah, I didn't. I'm gonna admit I did not see that play. I still need to go back, check the highlights, and check that.
I would say it's within like the first 5 to 8 minutes.
Oh,
something
so
happened. There's
yeah. Well, I mean, at least he survived more than 4 sacks. Aaron Rodgers. Anyways, if we're moving on, if we're looking at Cody Fajardo, he went 21 for 24, so not much you can complain about there. Got 1 touchdown, didn't throw a pick. Caleb Evans would throw a pick. Caleb Evans threw the pick. Chad Kelly would go 21 for 28, which is not bad, but like maybe hope for a little more.
They had no rushing game whatsoever. No rushing game.
The Argonauts?
No, the Alouettes.
Oh, the Alouettes. Okay. Because I was about to say, you do realize AJ Ouellette ran like 105 yards. But yeah, I mean, if we're holy shit, the most they got is 10. Jesus Christ. 21. They got 24 yards all game. William Stanback was behind Fletcher. Oh my God. Oh boy. That's
Yeah. And then when you have Worthy, Spiker, and Fletcher as your top three receivers, that
with the
tells you something.
top
Snead
being like 59 yards.
and Snead wasn't even in the top 5 or top 4. He had 30 yards.
Yeah. Cote went 1 for 1 on his 10-yard field goal. Congratulations. So, I mean, he got it. He didn't miss. Not much you can complain about there, but I mean, it's a gimme play. Neal would do okay. Gittins Jr. would get himself around 63 yards. Boris Bede would go 4 for 5, but his longest being 51-yard field goal for Boris Bede. So not much you can complain about in that regard, despite the fact that he missed one. Hitting that 51 is very impressive.
Yeah, I don't know what's been up with Getting Jr. this year. Like, he's done, like, his numbers haven't been there.
It's kind of what I predicted.
I mean, yeah,
I didn't
like,
think
I
that
thought,
the Argonauts running throwing game would be quite. It was the running game that was going to be the focus. AJ Ouellette and Andrew Harris.
No. I mean, like, if you like stand back and look at like the overall season.
Stand back. There's a hurricane coming through. What?
No, if you stand back and you look at like the overall season, you would have thought like overall Gittins Jr. would have a better year.
No, definitely. No, it's one of those things where I was even just saying the Argonauts receiving core as a whole, I wasn't expecting a ton. Not that they're bad, but there are good pieces, just nothing really that sticks out that much as like a star receiver. But it's one of those things where obviously they've been able to manage. They're 10-1, so I mean, obviously it's not too bad. but the running game has definitely been stealing the show, considering the running game is sometimes throwing touchdowns. But Argonauts would go through. They would win this game 39-10 over the Montreal Alouettes. And then we get to our last game of the week where the Edmonton Elks secure their second straight win on home field. 25-23 over the Calgary Stampeders. I predicted the Elks. You were a hater. You didn't believe in Chris Jones. You said that Calgary is going to win this game. I didn't believe in Chris Jones either, but that's okay because I believed in the team. And being faithful in absolute clutch gets this for the Edmonton Elks with 18 points in the fourth quarter.
What's with all the points coming in the fourth quarter? Because the week prior,
no lead Calgary is safe in the CFL.
Calgary had 22 points in the fourth, and now Calgary has 18 points in the fourth.
Exactly. It had to go both ways.
I mean, Kevin Brown had 143 yards.
Yep.
Eugene Lewis had 89 yards receiving.
Trey Ford is really the more I'm seeing of Trey Ford, the more we are realizing that Trey Ford's the man. He is the guy. He is the guy that the Elks got to run with. And so it's one of those things where that is going to be a top priority come the offseason. Make sure you keep Trey Ford.
My thing is, I'm looking at the overall CFL numbers for quarterbacks.
Yep.
Jake Mayer leads the team and leads
the league, you mean?
In passing yards, but he also has 14 touchdowns and 13 interceptions.
Yeah, I was about to say he's also leading in interceptions. And then actually just behind him is Zach Caleros, who's only like maybe 150 yards behind him, something like that. But I mean, if we're looking at this list here of our passing leaders, Taylor Cornelius is at 1295 and Trey Ford is all the way down there. He doesn't crack the top 10, but I mean, he hasn't been in the whole season, so it is what it is. But I mean, if you're the Elks, I mean, obviously you're happy, very satisfied to get your second win in a row at home. Maybe the start of a winning streak at home. Who knows? Let's maybe not get ahead of ourselves. But I mean, the Stampeders would have an all right first half. They would lose the first quarter with a 7-3 lead here for the Elks. However, they'd come back with a really strong second quarter, going 14-0 against the Elks. they'd have a decent third quarter with going 6-0 against the Edmonton Elks, and then an absolute catastrophe in the fourth quarter, giving up 18 points with a field goal to end the game. Dean Faithful securing it for the Edmonton Elks, 42-yard kick, and it is good. Not much you can complain about, is there?
With like 4 seconds left.
What?
Like it was literally like last second kick.
Oh yeah, no, it was literally the end of the game. There was like no time left. So, is there anything else you wanna cover on this game? No, well,
no.
Overall, I think we pretty much covered everything. I mean, I know I spent a long time talking about the Banjo Bowl, but trust me, I loved every second of it.
One thing that I will say, congrats to the Bombers and Toronto. They have both clinched playoff spots.
Yes, they have clinched the playoffs. Now, I would like to clinch the West and have ourselves home field advantage for the West final. But job number one is complete.
If I'm not corrected, I'm pretty sure if Toronto and Winnipeg both win this week, I'm sure they both clinch the division. Well, Toronto anyways, because that would be
Toronto,
10 points.
Toronto for sure, because Toronto has a higher lead, has a much bigger lead on the Alouettes than the Bombers do on the Lions. The Lions really have fallen off. They're now. But
they also have a game in hand.
Yeah,
but they also.
But I mean, no offense, Lions, you haven't been doing much with the games you've been given as of recent. Who knows? Maybe that changes. If you're a Lions fan, I think you're going to hope that changes. But
this week.
But we'll get into that. We'll get into that. We're not there yet. But yeah, overall, anything else? Are we done yet? Can I do my outro now? Can I do it, Rick?
Yes.
Please, I can do my outro. Hallelujah.
Yes.
All right, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe if you have not already. Make sure you guys check out our other videos. We're going to be having a Week 15 preview coming out soon enough, and we will see you guys next time.